Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's show on CFN, the Crypto Food Network. And we would like to thank everybody for coming along to watch. It's actually Trade the Chain. But we saw the comments that were going on. Little bleed over from yesterday's hot dog debacle.
It is a sandwich.
Some people agree it is a sandwich, others don't.
Hot dog debacle. It is a sandwich.
Okay.
Again. I'll just get into the disclaimer, Alex. CJ, you got that ready? Thank God it's Friday. Yes? TGIF? Yeah.
Well, I think this internet's going to peter out soon. Everybody hear me? All right. Well, I don't know what was said during the 60-second blackout I just did. If they made fun of me, I apologize. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Before we go to legals, I'm just going to. CJ doesn't find humor in anything. All right. He rarely. There he goes. He's almost smiled. We almost got him to smile.
He finds humor in his lack of humor.
The most important question of the day is really what is he going to order? Okay, because this show will be interrupted at some point with a ding dong at the front door. Put your comments in and let us know what the guesses are. Other than that, we're going to hit the big boards today. We are going to also do a news roundup. There's a lot of interesting news, Ryan, that came out. And so we're going to run through it kind of quick style because I think there's a good six articles we want to make sure are on people's radar today. So before we get to that, CJ, would you mind taking us away, sir?
Well, I have to do the disclaimer.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Ryan and CJ. Can you both take us away? Do your thing.
Thanks, Alex. This is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain and Market Rebellion is strictly for educational and informational purposes only. Absolutely none of this is investment advice, and you probably shouldn't listen to us anyway.
That it?
Sorry, gents. Still getting used to the proper optimal way to share screen. Here's the window. I'll bring it back up. Sorry about that.
Trade the Chain is brought to you by TradeTheChain.com, a global community of traders across 23 time zones. My God, man. They're of all ages, all abilities, all backgrounds, and all skill levels, all using AI-driven sentiment indicators and actionable alerts to help them beat the market by making more informed trading decisions. If you, too, would like to trade like a crypto insider, head on over to TradeTheChain.com and check out our 14-day trial.
And then moving over to marketrebellion.com/crypto. This is Monty and myself and our community at Market Rebellion. And with us, you get expert analysis and trade ideas on a weekly basis, as well as access to our charting platform and education curriculum. So if you'd like to learn more about TA and get updated trade ideas throughout the week, go over to marketrebellion.com/crypto, and you can try the first month for just $1. So we appreciate that, guys. And with the shilling out of the way, gentlemen, anything you'd like to bring to our attention before we hit some of the big boards?
There's a scandal raging throughout crypto Twitter that has nothing to do with hot dogs or sandwiches or anything that I think is worth bringing up. What happened to the ETH hashtag? It went from being all about Ethereum, and Monty pointed this out earlier. It went from being all about Ethereum to now being about the Olympics, and it has the Ethiopian flag after it. And some people are really upset.
I mean, yeah, it's funny, Ryan. I woke up this morning and I had a notification that there's a new post on the Ethereum subreddit. So I'm like, oh God, this will be good. I went and checked it out, and yeah, ETH maxis are upset, and they don't just think, they don't think this is by accident. They think Jack Dorsey, being the Bitcoin maximalist that he is, perhaps did this on purpose as to kind of throw some shade at ETH and ruin their hashtag for a bit. But I think it's, just the Olympics, and I think the conspiracy theorists on Reddit are looking a bit too hard into this.
Tinfoil hats. Part of me wants to believe, though, that he did this just to stir the sauce among ETH maxis, because it's really, really funny. That's all.
All right, CJ.
All right.
CJ, no one's happier it's Friday than CJ.
You know, if I would actually eat before this show, I apologize. I probably would be a little bit more less reluctant to smile. But anyways, going down to the Trade the Chain dashboard, you can see here really nothing on too significant or too new that we haven't seen from yesterday or the day before. Still neutral in the shorter term sentiment. Trading volume down all across the board today. So that is rather significant. One thing I want to point out here is that we are actually approaching that resistance from that downward sloping trend line. You know, last night we just broke above it for a very short limited period of time and are now forming a little bit more of a bearish inverse hammer candle. So not the most bullish sign from the bulls there. And, you know, for those reasons, until we negate this descending triangle, I think these, you know, extrapolated measured moves are still in the cards, you know, something like a 28K or something even far down to potentially the completion of that extrapolated measured move. Overall, though, I do want to draw you guys' attention to the MACD. We had a lot of members kind of asking about this and looking for education about this earlier today, but there's a really interesting thing going on with the MACD where it's kind of the inverse of what we saw during the bull market. So during the bull market, we had somewhat of a weaker leg up here. You know, we had declining momentum despite the fact that price was making new higher highs. And so eventually the bulls run out of momentum. That's typically how trends end. You know, they trend for a while and they're very strong, but gradually momentum fades and buyers become sellers and vice versa. Now we're actually seeing the inverse of what we saw previously. You know, we're seeing higher lows in the MACD as price has a bearish to neutral consolidation. So even if we are to fall down to say one of these next lower legs, I don't see us going kind of below there. I see, you know, the MACD providing enough support that it's essentially showing us bearish momentum is really falling and is near an end, in my opinion. So just a little thoughts on the MACD with Bitcoin there. I mean, when you look at Ethereum, it is shockingly similar. We're hitting up against those resistance levels, forming that inverted hammer candle that is slightly more bearish than when compared to just a bullish engulfing. And, you know, when we look at the MACD on not only ETH and Bitcoin, but really many, many assets in this market, they all paint the same picture, which is that bearish momentum is continually getting weaker, despite the fact we might have just one more leg down. You know, it's kind of reminiscent of when we were at 3K in 2018 in Bitcoin, when everybody was waiting for $2,000 or $1,000, but it never happened. You know, and that might end up being the case with 25K. We should see.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, CJ. And one thing, Ryan, I think you're on mute, Ryan, but you were trying to say something.
Yeah, I was. I was going to say the sentiment data on the Trade the Chain charts bears that out, right? So if you look at what we see with, I think this is Bitcoin. Here we go. Yeah, if you look at the Bitcoin chart here, you'll see that sentiment data clearly agrees with you. As of, you know, early on the 22nd, overnight before the 22nd, sentiment really established itself, and it's been firmly in the positive now for, I don't know, 36 hours. And then if you look at the sentiment data for Ethereum as well, which I'm getting there, I'm having the same difficulties CJ did. No, it's not working out for me. Okay, here we go. So if you look at the sentiment data for Ethereum, we have the same trend, right? But sentiment for Ethereum has been positive for much longer. So that bearish trend appears to be significantly weakening, and price is clearly recovering. And, you know, you guys, you poked fun at me for being bullish yesterday. But when looking at the sentiment charts and looking at, you know, these weakening bearish fundamentals, it makes sense that we're poised at least for a sideways trade, if not at least a moderate breakout higher. You know, I feel like that the downturn at least is temporarily on hiatus.
I I hate to disagree with you, Ryan, and I hate to be my typical bearish self, but I'm just not liking what I'm seeing. And we've been talking a lot about, more macro perspectives, but I'm going to zoom in here a bit. I want to talk about the 4-hour chart, because if you look back over the last 3 weeks, it seems to me a pretty clear trend here is being established. And I think CJ's point about momentum was a very good one here. And seeing this dip below 30K for the first time was, a very good example of buyers stepping in below this level. But one thing that I think is going to be interesting to see is what's going to happen next time we retest this level. All during the last 3 months, this bottom channel is held up as support and this upper channel is held as resistance. Once again here, we hit this critical level and are coming down to retest this lower bound. We broke this level here because of the significance of the 30K level. When we hit 30K, there was a bit of panic. We sold through, some buyers stepped in here and propelled us back up. Also, we obviously had the B-word event and some retail money stepping in. So this, I think, despite the fact that we kind of broke out of this channel and then moved so quickly back up to the upside, I still think this channel is very much valid. And I think the next time we retest this 30K level, we could be in for some trouble, because the buyers that stepped in here, they used this capital just a week ago, and now they're already retesting the same levels. I think there's going to be more reluctance for the bulls to step in below 30K, given that, we tested below this level, went back up, and now subsequently are on our way back down to retest this level. So I think if we retest 30K over the next, week or so, even possibly over the next 4 days, like on Monday, we've been getting some pretty negative price action over the last 4 weeks on, Monday mornings. I think that a break below this level could finally lead to a retest of those lower levels that haven't really been critical since, earlier in the year. Once we get those levels, to answer DJ Crypto's question, yeah, I pretty much think that that's going to be it. We're going to have one last big sell-off, one break below 30K, panic, capitulation for all the traders that have been trading in this space right here. But then we're going to start the next leg up. People are going to be buying back in. Sleepy is talking about he's got a bunch of his money in USDC right now. I'm in the same position, and I know there's going to be, buyers and bulls looking to step in once we do retest those critical levels. And, CJ's talking about the bearish momentum dying down. I completely agree that, there's less sell pressure on the market currently, but there's also no, significant buy pressure on the market at this point as well. So because of that, I just really am being hesitant. I'm waiting to see what happens next time we retest 30K. But I do think, a retest of levels like 25K, 26K are still in the cards.
So one thing I want to point out to you that our Chief Community Officer, Nick Mancini, pointed out earlier today. I think the way that Bitcoin moves going forward has a lot to do with how the equities markets go forward. And this is the correlation between how Bitcoin and how S&P and how NASDAQ move has been nearly in lockstep, right? Look at that. So this correlation might not last forever, but if you want to get a sense of where Bitcoin may move, it may make sense to pay attention to the equities markets. Also,
by the way, that's a fascinating chart right there.
It really is. I wish I was smart enough to better explain it, but I'm not. I'm just a snarky guy in front of a webcam. But one thing I did want to point out that Monty did, the positive sentiment in both ETH and Bitcoin really reinforced after the B-Word conference, because a lot of people, I guess, didn't expect Elon to say he owned ETH. And then he's talking about how SpaceX and Tesla own Bitcoin and how Tesla will soon start accepting Bitcoin again. And we all know Jack Dorsey's a big Bitcoin supporter as well. So it just feels like perhaps the communities were stirred up and motivated to, step in and support both Bitcoin and ETH, at least in the short term. So I don't see it going down. But one thing, Alex, I do see going down, that I saw going down yesterday, that you wrote down the time and the price. And I was right, my friend. I was right.
That is right. That is right. What do we got for XLM?
Here we go. Hold on. I'm still getting used to the screen sharing thing as well. This is wild. Where is it? There, I think this is it. There it is, stellar. When it was at 26 cents, I said this is an opportunity to sell short. Alex wrote down the time and the price and said I'd eat my words. I wouldn't have made a huge profit, but I was on the mark there.
Well, hold on a second. Let's look at this graph you have in place right now. Let me bring this up to full screen. I would like to point out that it looks like we hit a 0.29 after this was written down.
Sure, but we said 24 hours later. It was a 24-hour bet, not a 2-hour bet.
I'm just saying, as a scalp trader, I could have peeled some off. But you're right. You're right.
It just felt to me like Stellar was overbought, and it got overbought a little more, and it went down. And it's still down from where it was yesterday afternoon at, say, 2 o'clock or whatever time it was when we made that bet.
I'm still feeling. I still feel inside, though, to what Monty had brought up in previous episode, that we're just. I think we're there. I think we're range bound for the rest of the year. I'm not feeling worried. There's people calling for $20,000 Bitcoin right now. I don't know.
Please. Yes, please.
Well, I saw somebody tweet, if Voyager was at 5 cents, I'd buy $1 million. Yeah, so would I. If Bitcoin goes down to 20,000, Monty, CJ, Ryan, are you guys buyers?
No.
I mean, it depends. It all depends on what we're seeing in the trend. If we're sharply headed towards 20K, I might not buy right away, but everything I know about Bitcoin and the stock to flow model tells me that at the current point in time, 20K would be a fantastic price. And in a year, we'd look back at it as a tremendous dollar cost average play. So yeah, I think if the conditions were right, I would definitely be buying a lot of Bitcoin at 20K.
So, here's the deal, as our president would say. I think the best trades are when the markets are crashing and the exchanges are barely able to stay up. And I don't see Bitcoin going to 20,000 unless we see a massive black swan event similar to COVID and how it crashed price from about 12K all the way down to 5K in one night. I think if we go to 20K, it would have to happen somewhere like that. It just technically and fundamentally, it doesn't make sense right now for price to go to 20K. I completely agree with Monty and his bearish kind of outlook in the short term that he laid down earlier. I think one of our viewers also makes a really excellent point, Sleepy Puppy Crypto, saying, I'm a permanent bull, but the trend is your friend. And yeah, right now, the trend is downward, but the trend is also losing momentum. But it hasn't turned just yet. So we have to respect it for the short term. And I see Ryan wants to chime in. So what have you got, sir?
Black swan event. Economies and states and municipalities are starting to reenact certain measures, and as COVID rates begin to spike again, and it becomes apparent that Delta is, more contagious and potentially more deadly. And there have been a lot of vaccine breakthrough cases as well with Delta, the Delta variant. So, there could potentially be a black swan event where we have to shut down the economy again. And if they'll do it once under Trump, make no mistake that they do it again under Biden, because Democrats are more amenable to measures like that than Republicans are, because Republicans always want laissez-faire attitudes towards business, whereas Democrats want more stricter and tighter controls on business, generally speaking. So for them, closing down the economy again wouldn't be too much of a stretch. And you have companies reconsidering whether or not to bring workers back to offices. Look what happened in LA. They're already wearing masks again. And there are rumbles that down here in Puerto Rico, they're going to reenact the mask mandate as well. So, it's only if the Delta variant has nothing to do with Delta Airlines, but at least as of now. But, I think there could potentially be a black swan event where we're forced to shut down the economy again. And that would not be good for Bitcoin. But this is the long road. I took the scenic route to this. I wouldn't buy Bitcoin at 5K because the potential upside there just isn't the same as it is with ETH, right? So let's say ETH goes to 20K. Let's say Bitcoin goes to 100K. Yay, Bitcoin's at 100K, cool. If ETH goes to 20K, that's still 10X. Bitcoin's not going to 10X anytime soon. Not even if it goes down to 5K, right? So the upside and the potential for longer term gains and for outsized gains is higher in ETH than it is in Bitcoin. And that's why I will never buy Bitcoin at any price at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I think Bitcoin right now, what I've accumulated so far in the crypto career, is for that generational wealth aspect of it. And I think right now, I think there is a lot more upside in altcoins, depending on how you play it. So I'm in agreement there. I mean, now 20K does get sizzling, though. I mean, if that mark does get hit, and I don't think it will at all.
It only goes to 20K if the corps and the hedge funds have sold out. Because like MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, he'll issue just more debt to buy more Bitcoin to keep it from going 20K.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't go that way.
Saylor can't stop Bitcoin from going under 20K, Ryan. You act like he's like the Federal Reserve for Bitcoin, and it's just not logical. Like, I don't get why you have such a personal vendetta with that.
I have no vendetta against Saylor. I just feel like all the people who cheerlead him are doing it in complete contrast to criticizing the federal government for doing the same thing. And he is the Federal Reserve and the Treasury for Bitcoin. I even wrote an op-ed about that. I see what you did there. But I think that he could single-handedly keep it from going below 20K. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's smart, but I think he could if he wanted to.
All right. Let's do the news roundup because there's a lot of news, folks, and I want to get through this so everybody can have time to get this in our radar for the weekend. But I'm going to start off with a couple of different IPO wishes. Wait, hold on a second. There's something happening. What's this?
Food.
Food's here. The good thing is now that COVID restrictions are dying down, they actually can bring the food up to his door, and he lives on like the 45th floor. So before he'd have to go all the way down to the front door to get the food, but now it's like much quicker process. So he'll only
oh my God, that was so much better because I was on the 37th floor in that building, and going all the way down to get food, that would be a nightmare. Like the 45th floor or the 37th floor. Once you're above like 10 floors, it's an absolute nightmare going down to get food.
Oh yeah.
All right, on to the news roundup. So, here's what we got, folks. We got a couple of companies that are looking to, wishing to be public, and one is BlockFi. Now, for anybody who's living under a rock and is a crypto enthusiast, BlockFi is going through its own, troubles of its own. We have New Jersey regulators writing letters to them saying that from this date forward, they're no longer allowed to take New Jersey clients on to earn interest. I've seen some great discussions going on Twitter with other companies that have the interest products as well, and if they'll be affected. But as this goes on, we'll see how that regulatory umbrella works here with BlockFi. We see them wanting to go public. So it's interesting. I mean, they do. I think they're at a $13 billion valuation right now. So it's, Zach Prince has created quite the company. Ryan looks confused and wants to jump in all at the same time.
No, I just don't see how you can possibly go public if you're being pursued by the regulator, one of the major securities regulators in the U.S., and accused of selling an unregistered security. Like that just doesn't. That's like oil and water. You can't go public while selling unregistered securities to one of the most populous states in the country. That's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it's not necessarily prudent for a company. Even listen, now let's get something straight. BlockFi has not committed any wrongdoing. There's nobody said anything. But it's just that while addressing questions or maybe going against a regulator's decision to try to favor get it in your favor, exploring an IPO 12 months down the road or 18 months down the road may not seem prudent right now as far as advertising. Now here's one that's amazing. Let's talk about this. Binance, I knew Ryan was going to like this one. Binance US is eyeing an IPO as well, says CZ. So here, now we've all known Binance has changed CEOs. Okay, it used to be Catherine Cooley. She left the post, I believe, on her own volition, and they took in Brian Brooks, who is the former acting comptroller of the currency or deputy comptroller of the currency.
No, he was the comptroller of the currency at the OCC.
He was. Okay. All right. So it's interesting because a well-respected woman in her field on Wall Street and now a well-respected person from, government taking the spot. But the problem is that Binance US has been plagued with low volumes. It just hasn't taken on because, listen, there's nothing different from Binance US than there are from other U.S. exchanges. They need to follow the same laws and do all the same things. Binance U.S. is a completely separate entity from the regular Binance. They only share that one part of the name. So, guys, what's the value in Binance U.S. going public? And two, again, they're in the shadow of, swirling rumors that CZ and Binance Global are being investigated. I don't get it. Neither does anybody else on this show. Okay. So moving on. Go, Ryan, you wanted to chime in for a second? Or
I've seen better ideas.
Now here's a fan favorite. What's going on with Craig Wright and BSV? Craig Wright, who we all know is not the real Satoshi. I'm sorry to break to anybody who thinks
is a clown fraud. Like Craig Wright.
Yes, clown I like fraud. The use of that word, clown fraud. Apparently, they've had an attack on their network. Shocker.
I hate to see it. When bad things happen to good people, really.
I'm always upset, Ryan, when there's an attack on Bitcoin. But to see it on Bitcoin SV, this is ridiculous. In the wake of that, they've shut down the BSV mining pool. And Craig Wright always has his way in various legal, controversies. So it's good to see Craig in the news again. Wish him all the luck with that. On to the next one. Amazon is looking to hire someone to lead its digital currency and blockchain initiatives. Now, this is interesting because, Ryan, am I mistaken in that years gone by, Amazon, didn't they try to integrate like payments by Bitcoin or something back in the day, or did they never do that?
I thought that was Overstock that accepts Bitcoin. I never saw Amazon do that. But if you're going to use blockchain for supply chain control, I think it makes absolute sense because Amazon has the largest and most sprawling supply chain in the world. And maybe second to Walmart, but I don't think they are. And Walmart uses blockchain to control their supply chain, so why not?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it could be effective for Amazon to branch. First of all, it would make Amazon popular again. Listen, they're popular. We all order from them. But when it comes down to that whole Walmart tin hat thing, people are like, Amazon. They don't pay their people well. They don't give healthcare, all that stuff. CJ wants to chime in.
No, I just thought you said Amazon was unpopular for a minute. And
yeah, that's confusing. I thought I heard that
we're
too.
We're all aware of the human rights violations that Amazon commits and whatnot, but does that really stop
unpopular in that opinion? That opinion, CJ. I didn't mean unpopular like I didn't order 12 Amazon packages today alone,
All right. Just want to clear that up.
Amazon would be more popular if they could find a way to get things to Puerto Rico in under a week. It feels like 20 years ago trying to get things onto this island, whereas Walmart has 2-day delivery. I hate Walmart, but I'll take their 2-day delivery every day of the week.
Now, what would be tremendous, well, CJ Bonte, pipe in here. Do you think them, first of all, digital currency and blockchain initiatives, they're a behemoth of a company. They actually could create their own damn Amazon blockchain, which would be kind of cool, and issue a token on top of that. Do you think it's proper for Amazon to step into this game and see how they could disrupt blockchain cryptocurrency?
Yes, I think so. It makes a lot of sense. Like Ryan said, I think there is a lot of utility for crypto in the supply side of things. And, Amazon is a massive supply chain. I think they, could not only improve their own, logistical operations, but depending on how they choose to integrate a cryptocurrency, then, yeah, I think that could be potentially very big. But this is very early news. I think they could go infinitely many directions with this, and it could be a very non-starter depending on how they implement it. But you're right, Alex, they are a behemoth, and it's good to see that they're, at least interested in and, paying attention to the merits of crypto.
I'm just saying the Amazon coin could be the people's currency.
Yes, ticker AZN. Listen, check this out. This is what I find interesting about this particular job posting. They're looking for a lead in digital currency and blockchain initiative, and that person must have 10 or more years experience of relevant experience.
Hiring Satoshi Nakamoto, they're not getting what they're looking for.
Unless they're hiring Craig Wright, they're not getting it.
Craig, we finally found a job for you. Go talk to Jeff Bezos.
There's not going to be a hell of a lot of candidates that fit this bill.
Oh my God, that's amazing. There are a few people even on this island, Alex, who might fit that bill, like 2 or 3 people, and you know who I'm talking about. Not. I'm terrified of saying their name publicly, but I think they fit that bill. Yeah.
I mean, the concepts of proof of work and like smart contracts are much older than 10 years. So there are people who have been studying this for 20 years. People
David
like Adam Back, but
David Shum, he created eCash, right? He created the first blockchain in a white paper at Berkeley back in the early 80s. So I mean, he could potentially work for Amazon, though I don't think he'd be a fit.
Listen, I think there's a good solid 3 candidates in the world.
David Shum is one of them. But
there you go. Chef Dan could be one of them. He's crafty in crypto. Gotta love the Chef Dan. Anybody who cooks is awesome. First decentralized exchange launches on Polkadot and Kusama. This is big. Okay.
Yeah.
Polkadot and Kusama. I mean, Polkadot's been waiting for someone to play with for a long time, and here they go. Now there's a DEX on the ecosystem. This is going to be big news. I'm going to be following DOT for sure, because this is what we were talking about all going through the spring and into the summer, which was our beef with Cardano, right? Back early spring, where we say nobody's building on it, nobody's putting anything into the ecosystem. Same with Solana and all this stuff. Well, guess what? This is when they're going to do it, and this is where I feel when the London fork happens with Ethereum on the 4th, it's not going to do what people want it to do. And with Vitalik saying that 2.0 is yet again pushed to the end of 2022. This is where these folks, they start to get market share. This is where they can land grab right here. And I'm glad to see a DEX hopping on the system. Anybody else got a comment for this?
I've been a long-term holder of DOT for quite a while. I've been espousing their virtues. I'm excited to see what this does for the whole ecosystem. But let's be realistic. Do we honestly think that ETH 2.0 is going to launch even next year?
Nah.
I'd be surprised if it launches before 2024.
Why don't you put in the live chat how many years ETH 2.0 has been advertised, if you think you know the answer. And if you heard me, I said years, because that's how long it's been going on. All right, so let's go to the title here. Critical issues with Thorchain. Here it says after second hack in a week from our friends over at Decrypt. But truth matters, there's been 3 hacks in a month. Okay, and
Goes of Ethereum Classic there. That's crazy.
Yeah. Now, listen, you know what gets me on this, folks, is because, Thorchain and RUNE, which, it's happening all right now. $8 million loss, is because Thorchain is one of those cross-chain platforms, right? They're one of those cross-chain platforms that everybody wants to embrace and to utilize. There's a lot of momentum and a lot of community fans behind Thorchain and RUNE. So to see this happen, I'm kind of saddened, kind of hampers the progression. But most importantly, guys, if you were a hardcore long-term investor of RUNE, would you still be an investor now that 3 hacks in a month have come out?
No, definitely not. And the funny thing is, Alex, this headline could have been completely different. It could have been, Thorchain is dead, because this guy was a white hat hacker, and he decided to only take a 10% bounty. And he basically said, he's like, I could have basically, drained all the liquidity from this protocol if I would have sat there. So, he was a good guy about it. But the fact of the matter is, like you said, they're trying to build very fast. When you do that, there's more points of failure that are being added to the network. And I thought it was funny. The guy left basically a little note in the transaction hash, and he says, "Don't rush code when it's responsible for 9 figures of capital."
Yes.
Yeah.
And my favorite was audits are not a want. They're a need.
Yeah.
CJ, what are your thoughts here, bud?
Yeah, I'm done investing in projects that have just cross-chain swaps or that whole decentralized exchange kind of thesis, is just because, when you're trying to create a cross-chain platform, there's a lot of issues of complexity. There's many other projects that are doing it with more resources. Thorchain was one of the most prominent that had a lot of resources, had a very strong community behind it. So there's nothing in my mind that really prevents something like this happening to a project such as Relay or these others. So I'm going to give it a couple years before, we really seriously look into any of these cross-chain swap platforms, because I think they are rushing code. I think they're trying to do stuff that is ahead of the roadmap because they don't want to miss out on the potential second leg of this bull market. So that's just kind of my honest thoughts. But I don't like to see people lose money like this, especially in hacks. And I guess we just have to learn from it going forward and admit certain mistakes.
Ryan.
With CJ on this one.
All right, cool.
And Monty.
Well, there it is. What's that?
I was just saying, and Monty, I agree with both.
Yeah, I mean, it's upsetting to see people who lose money. That's for sure. That's foremost of anything. Listen, the whole Titan debacle is not too far behind us in what happened there. So, all right, guys, this has been great. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Happy Friday. On the way out, if you could kindly just like and subscribe, that'd be great. But as always, hang on to your handlebars and check out marketrebellion.com/crypto and trade the chain. Have a great weekend, folks. We'll see you on Monday.
TradeTheChain.com.
TradeTheChain.com. Bye, guys.
Bye.